Hi, so it's been a long time since I have read fiction and recorded my observations on that book. When you are out of touch with reading, actually going back to reading feels very new, feels very, um, uh, it feels very awkward. You approach, it's almost as if you are suffering from some kind of disability. Um, and any progress you make is very small, and you feel badly about it because at one time you were reading voraciously, but then you lose it. And it's really like almost as if like you used to go running and then you lost your leg and you have learned to walk again. And reading a book after a really long time actually starts feeling like that. Anyway, so I got back into the game with A Girl in the Train by Paula Hawkins. And this book actually came out, I think, a little after Gone Girl, and a lot of reviews about that book was not very flattering at the time. I mean, some people really liked it, but a lot of it was comparison with Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl, and about this dysfunctional woman, and things like that. But I'm really glad that I did not read this book at that time, and I'm reading it now, where the echoes of the opinions about this particular book has died down. So this book actually is very relatable for scary reasons, but mainly I've lived in Bombay all my life, and I studied in Bombay before I moved out. But I studied in Bombay, and my college involved train travel. So when you're in one of the Bombay locals, and you usually stand by the window, if you don't stand by the door. These are open door trains, they are not closed like the metro. uh, they uh, they offer you an insight into other people's houses. And when you're in the train, there are the tracks are very very close to some slums, sometimes buildings, but mostly slums and those kind of hutments. And you really get a peek into their houses, more than a peek in fact, because sometimes there are signals at which the train stops, and you are literally looking into the eye of somebody who is on a bed. It's that close. And I remember that I never used to really like the train travel initially. And But there was this one particular segment where the train would stall at between two stations, and there was a wall. It was a mossy wall, uh, gutter water, mossy wall, dirty, stinking area. And in the middle of that wall was a beautiful purple flower. It was I can still remember it. It was purple, but it just conveyed to you that it was a lot more than purple. Like, if all the colors of the world would elect a leader, it would be that shade of purple. It was almost like in between periwinkle and lavender, that kind of thing. So okay, so that was my train journey and all that, and how I relate that to this particular book. So this book is about this woman who takes the train, and she always notices one house where the train stops. Again, I think it's at a signal or in between two stations. And she observes the lives of a couple, a man and a woman. And there's a lot of projection. She imagines what their life is like, what she is like, what her partner is like. And then one day she sees something. And sometimes when you accept somebody in your imagination so much, you really believe that you are part of their world, and they are part of yours. So one day she notices something, and she decides to intervene, and that's the book. So I will actually, this video was supposed to be talk about that book, but it's already nearly 5 minutes and I haven't got around to that. next video perhaps. But then, you know, that particular flower, what I used to feel for that particular flower, and there was one day where I noticed that that flower, I can't quite explain. So the flower was on a creeper, and that creeper was going into a window of a particular hutman, you know. And I always used to notice that flower, and I used to keep wondering, you know, that against the brown of that muck and that grey of that grit, this beautiful flower, and it was spectacular, probably in the context in which it grew. But in any case, in one day, I saw this creeper on which this flower grew was growing inside a particular hut, and there was a man who, you know, uh, I just noticed him stroke the creeper. That's all. That's all I saw actually. I mean, I never saw that man. I had not seen that man before. I had not seen that man again. Although whatever I had seen, I had sensed that obviously it's a lived-in space. But the fact that, you know, he stroked that creeper, and I would really look out for that particular flower, because it was probably the only thing that was making my commute worthwhile. It just suddenly struck me that, you know, sorry, that beauty actually brings people together, much like art, um, much like food, much like life, you know, just beauty. Like, and very interestingly, I was seeing the other side of the creeper, which had the flower, and he was seeing a very beautiful green tendril shaped fragile thing on the other end. And I think that it was a very, very moving lesson, that that we see what we can, and we imagine what we can to endure what life brings to us. So, okay.